Welcome to Seat Time, everybody. Episode 65. It's a Tuesday towards the end of November. We're hanging out. Everybody just got done grubbing down, having some Thanksgiving food, some dinner, and being thankful for all the things that they have and are able to do in this life. And I think that's great, and I hope everybody had an amazing time. I know I'm full, still feeling fat, but enjoying life. Tonight, for episode 65, I wanted to talk to somebody that's been really setting the off-road world on fire lately in a very, I would almost say a weird way, because he's turned the off-road racing scene upside down. We're all used to very long, endurance, tactful races, and this is something different. It's much more of a sprint style kind of moto format. Mr. John Day. So we're going to talk to Mr. John, but we don't just want to know about his series. We obviously want to know about his series, what's coming up in the future. But we're going to find out more about this man, where he came from, what he's been up to, and then, of course, what he plans to be doing in the future and how he plans to shape the future of off-road and continue to do so. So, Mr. John Day, as I try to bring up your video feed here, how are you doing tonight, kind sir?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me tonight. I'm doing good.
That's it? You're just doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing great, actually. I'm doing great. Our season's over here, so we're winding down a little bit. Just about to get the schedule ready for next year, so a lot of hours getting ready for that. Kind of boring compared to building tracks, but I'm doing good, man. I'm actually heading down to Florida on Thursday morning, so trying to get a bunch of work done before I head down there and just enjoying the night, man.
I love it. Well, yeah, I mean, shoot, we could go right into talking about Florida, but I kind of want to just tiptoe around some things a little bit, because I personally have absolutely no idea who you are. I know your name's John Day. You look awesome with a mustache. I've seen a couple pictures. That's cool. But
thank you.
I mean, I think there are a lot of people who are interested not just in your series, but a little bit about who you are. It seems that this is like the third year, if I'm correct, for your series to be around, but you guys really steamed ahead this year with awesomeness. And so, who are you? What is your background in the moto world, if it's off-road, if it's moto, anything like that? And tell us a little bit more about why you started the series that you did.
All right, man. Well, I guess I'll start like most people. My dad raced moto and woods.
That sounds very familiar.
So I started riding probably when I was about 5 or so. Didn't really start racing until I was about 11 or 12, but I started racing hare scrambles, and I stuck in the woods ever since. Probably about 16 years old or so, I turned, regional AA. And I guess probably, 18 or 19, I dabbled into a little bit of GNCCs and, had a decent amount of success, I guess, for just a privateer heading down, in a pickup truck or whatever it was. I got, some top 10s, and to me, that was pretty cool. And then actually, I was lucky enough when I was, I want to say 20 or so, I got to do a season in the World Enduros over in Europe.
Wow.
For Callan and Suzuki. So that was pretty cool too. So and then
yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, when I was 21, I started the series, and here we are today. So
It's interesting that you mentioned the fact that you said World Enduros. I did not know that you went over there and actually were able to do a season. Now that you've mentioned that, though, I almost do see a little similarities in their sprint-style format in some of the tracks that you lay out. Would you say that there is actually some, reference to your time in Europe with the way that you lay out tracks? Or
totally, man, totally. I mean. One thing, before we get into what our format's all about, but I know off the top of your head, you probably are familiar with the extreme section at our series.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, we usually have a little bit of grass track or a little bit of moto. That's kind of from the cross test, yeah. And then obviously the bulk of the events are woods. So totally, man. I think that definitely sparked some ideas when I went over there, and I was kind of able to see, To me, when I went over to the World Enduros, it was like, how are these guys able to have such big events? And it seemed like the spectators, there was so many of them, and it all boiled down to the fact that the World Enduros have special tests on a small closed course sections that you can easily spectate,
Very accessible.
And that to me was kind of like, it was almost like, all right, that's perfect. That's why they're able to have such good spectator turnouts, is because they can capture a lot of the action right there. So that definitely sparked a lot of ideas that year over there. So
man, that's funny because I didn't even make that connection until now. But yeah, I mean, thinking about it, I got to go to the ISDE this year, and I've watched tons of videos, but I've never really been to one of those races. And now that I have, you're very, very correct in the fact that they put their spectators in a position to where they can, if they were to choose, to access the entire test, the entire section that is there. And it's only, sometimes it's less than 5 or 6 miles long. And then they transfer and they go between them and things like that. And most of the time that's, in Germany there was a lot of trail, but sometimes that's just a lot of road, and that's just getting them from test to test. What was your favorite part about being over in Europe? I have to ask.
Favorite part? I mean, about racing or about the lifestyle? I mean, there was so much cool stuff going on. I think that season I went to like over 15 different countries, and I mean everything about it, from the racing just to traveling alone, was cool to me. Maybe for someone over in Europe it might not have been that cool, the traveling aspect, but for me it was cool. But I don't know. I guess.
You didn't have a girlfriend.
I mean, obviously,
over there, though,
the World Enduros, to me, I love them, man. I think that that's a really cool format, and I love those things for sure. I'd say that's probably my favorite is that style format, which was very new to me too. But that format, I love that format too. So
awesome. Well, yeah, definitely. I think that's a format that doesn't exist enough in the States. I don't really know what the reason is for that, but that could be something that we could possibly bring to the States when we start talking more about some form of actual national off-road championship coming up. But so we just had Thanksgiving. It's No Shave November. I notice you have no facial hair, so obviously you are not participating in either No Shave November or Movember. But, stepping back a week, did you have a fun Thanksgiving? Did you get to ride any? Did you get to, take part in family shenanigans? What kind of stuff did you get yourself into?
Absolutely, dude. I got myself into a new SX 125.
Oh, snap!
So, I mean, dude, I hurt my knee in the fall, and I've been waiting months to try to get it better now. And finally, I got to stop you. What do you have there for drink?
Oh,
is that an Oktoberfest?
Close. We can have a whole new section. It's called "What Are You Drinking?" So I got my Vita Brevis koozie here. Got a shout out to my boys at Vita Brevis Clothing. And then I've got, what is this? The Blue Moon.
Ooh, nice.
But it's the Harvest Pumpkin Ale. I was at Sam's, and they had like a 25-pack or whatever. I don't know. It was an even number, but still, of different types of Blue Moons that they were offering. And, oh my gosh, this is actually it's a beer that you can't drink a ton of. I think it's kind of sweet, but you can have 1 or 2 of them, and then it's like Blue Moons it's the same thing with any wheat beer. You can only have X a number of them. But what about you? So it's the new segment. We just
I'm in the same boat. If you kind of can see, I got a Sam Adams Oktoberfest. Looks like a similar bottle, so I was like, oh, maybe we have the same thing. But
that's okay.
And of course, I got the KTM koozie. I got to rep KTM. So
hey, dude, KTM fanboy over here. Don't you worry about that. I've got freaking. Nice. It sucks because behind me, I'm so disorganized, and it's very unfortunate because I actually have so much moto crap. But we moved into a new house, and you don't ever get moved into a new house for at least 5 years, I don't think. So
I'm in the same boat right now.
This is my closest bit of KTM memorabilia. It's the new David Knight Manx coin. So David Knight's now on a coin. I have talked about it. I'm excited, and this is it. It comes with the coin right there and a piece of tire, as they call it, a
piece of tire,
knobbly rubber. Yeah,
that is sick.
So I'm excited. It's probably one of the strangest things ever, but that's okay. You guys should go pick it up.
That's awesome, man.
Okay, so you just got an SX 125. Please tell me more about this.
Yeah, so to continue, my knee was hurt, and finally it started to feel a little better, enough to where I could go out and ride. And that's what I did, man. I got an SX 125 last week or 2 weeks ago, and that's how I pretty much spent my Thanksgiving week, just finally enjoying myself a little bit. Had a little bit of time to rest. We've been full blast since the springtime, so with the series, and that's what I did. Obviously, I ate some turkey and everything too, but that was the highlight was the SX 125.
Yeah, no, I think that's quite a highlight to have for sure. I didn't do too much riding. I got out of my mountain bike, had a little bit of fun, but we actually hosted Thanksgiving for the first time here at our house, my wife and everything, and that's insane. I grew up, grew up riding the same thing as you were talking about with your dad, but I have a very small family. We are pretty much a twig.
Okay.
There's me, my sister, my mom, and my dad. That's it. 4 of us. That's it. That's all that's left. And my wife has a huge family, so the fact that we had everybody over here, I had a fantastic time with them. Though I've always thought I'd like having a big family. I love it. It's absolutely amazing.
Yep.
I think everybody should have as many kids as they can, as long as they think they can afford them. If not, you probably should just practice. Be safe about it.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. It was a great time. So I really enjoyed it. I look forward to talking to you, though, because I got a chance to look around and dig into your site, pick up a bunch of news and stuff like that, because I really did. I mean, this series this year really came out of the blue for me. I mean, you were seeing multiple guys going out and making edits out there. Rob Mitchell did a great job when I don't remember which one it was. Which one did he come out to? Was it Barnes Way?
He went to the first 2, Red Dragon and Barnes Way, and yeah, man, he killed it with both his edits for sure.
Yeah, and it's little things like that this series just kind of, to me anyway, just kind of came out of nowhere. Now I'm way down in Texas, so I'm definitely not going to get a lot of the Northeast stuff without digging around. But it stands out on your site. The future of off-road racing has arrived. To me, bold statement. So I want to know where that idea comes from, not just in the series, but why you would name your series JDayOffroad, and then put a tagline like that behind it.
Yep. Well, I mean, again, I guess it would probably go back to, like you said, or like I said, I grew up racing off-road, so obviously the enduros, the hare scrambles, the long distance type formats, and through the years racing the GNCCs, World Enduros, I guess the vibe that I got was that there was awesome stuff about off-road racing going on, and it always seemed like it would happen, 10 miles from the nearest spectator. Or, I mean, how many, as a racer yourself, how many times have you been in an awesome battle or had some epic crash or some epic close call, and it's like you're 13 miles out, no one sees it, you're like, if anyone only seen that, and to me, I think that's a huge part that the sport's missing out on, is capturing some of that cool action, and I think that, if spectators can see exactly, what's going on out in the woods, that, it could be a lot bigger than it is right now. I mean, I'm not saying I love off-road and the long-distance stuff. As a racer, I'll probably still race it, but I really think that, if the sport wants to grow, we definitely need to start having, something that people can spectate a little bit better, and then also something that sponsors can maybe feel like they're getting more bang for their buck, as far as their rider just isn't going into the woods and coming out 3 hours later.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna try. The reason why I'm kind of looking like I'm showing you my armpit is because I'm actually taking notes, because I want to make sure that everything you say really sticks through and goes somewhere. Now, as I mentioned, it seems like your series is actually about 3 years old. Did I have that right?
Yep. The first year we did it, it was just like a couple. We did 3 races, just like one-off events, no series, no points, and then last year was our first full championship points calculating series, and then this year was our second. So.
Okay, so then some of the, because I actually, as I said when I was searching around, I found some pictures of Nate Canny back when he was on a KTM at what was a JDayOffroad event. So I would imagine then that was probably one of some of the one-off events you were talking about.
Yep, that was actually our first event. Yep.
Awesome, and it looked like he won that too. So that was definitely good for him.
Yep, totally. Yeah, he killed it that day for sure.
Okay, and so who was it that won your overall last year? Because we know it was 2012 was Johnny Gerard. Jeez.
Yep.
You know what I'm trying to say here.
Johnny G. We'll call him Johnny G.
It sounds much more northeastern as well, so that definitely makes it easier.
Yeah, hey, Johnny G.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So 2011, tell us about that season and who won, and then tell us a little bit more about 2012 and how it went for you, and if it was what you expected.
Sorry, what was that? Who won the year before?
Yeah, how did,
or
2011, who was your overall winner?
Okay, Jake Korn.
Jake Korn?
I'm sure you've heard that
Yes.
name before. Jake Korn.
Yes.
He's probably the best guy to come out of New England, at least since I've been around. Anyways, I think he has he's won everything there is to win in New England, and he had an outstanding privateer effort at the GNCCs too. But unfortunately, wasn't too many rides around right now because of the economy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, and then so we come to 2012. As I was saying, you wind up getting a lot more coverage. People are watching, people are paying attention. You're starting to get more riders, more attendees to your races and things like that, and you're starting to grow. So throughout the season, as this was happening, did that change your series any? Did that change any of your thoughts moving forward with how the series was going to work?
Yes and no. I mean, it didn't change anything as far as the series go, I wouldn't say, but definitely a lot more ideas started popping into my head. Like, I started getting flooded with emails from people from as far as California, oh, bring the JDays out here, bring them out here, all different areas, and I'm starting to think to myself, maybe this is something that could realistically go beyond New England and actually, not be that far-fetched of an idea, so it didn't change anything as far as format-wise, but definitely kind of my thoughts for the future, for sure.
Okay, and just a quick, for any of those watching or listening that may not know the format of the JDay Offroad Series. Now, you can obviously correct me if I get this wrong, but it is 2 30-minute motos, and what you guys typically seem to have between maybe a 2 to 5 mile long trail with what we're calling a motocross section, a grass track section, and an extreme section. Is that about cover it?
I would word it a little bit differently.
Okay, go ahead.
And I know
you word it
you're in the same boat as a lot of people, because I think that's kind of what the website gives off. But I guess if I had to describe it, I would say that it's an off-road race with a motocross format. The average is a 2-mile course altogether, a compact course, very easy to spectate, very easy to cover on camera or media wise. Even though, the website sometimes I think it says 2 to 4 miles.
Right.
We've probably never had anything beyond 2.3. Actually, we shoot for roughly a 4 to 5 minute lap time for the pros. And another thing too, I definitely want to clear up, because I kind of think that maybe because of the edits and maybe because of the website a little bit, people think that it's almost like a hybrid series, but it couldn't be anything farther from that. It's a wood series with a splash of grass track or moto, and it always has the KTM Extreme section is always like a natural or man-made section that the spectators especially like. It's whether it's a enduro cross style section or a natural hill climb or whatever it is. But that's the biggest thing I could probably try to correct you in, is that it's not as much moto as I think people kind of think it is. We're not trying to be a hybrid series. We're trying to be an off-road series for sure.
I am glad that you cleared that up, because you're absolutely correct. From some of the edits, and having done edits, by no means do I think I've done them well, but by having done edits, I would kind of see why some of them would come off more moto-y, because those are the more open parts of the track. You can kind of see where you want to go. You can kind of see your angles from a distance, and if you don't have the ability to get there hours before the race and set up and maybe figure out where you're going to go and get your shots and
Absolutely.
things like that. So when you're kind of walking around the field, or walking around, the more open bits where everybody's at, it might make it a little bit easier to get a bunch of shots easily and quickly to then come back and edit. So, well, good.
Absolutely, man. I have 2 full-time video guys, and they do an excellent job. And I'm always trying to tell them, hey man, try to stay in the woods as much as you can, because I don't want people to be, thinking that we're in a hybrid series, or people to get scared away, not thinking that we're truly off-road,
Yeah. Okay, so then for 2013, for us to grow something like this, I want to preface it just a little bit. I love downhill mountain biking. I've been competing and watching in that for a very, very long time, especially on the European circuit, where they actually have it is phenomenal. And what they do when they set up these races, they're what you're talking about. You know, they're these shorter style tracks, downhill, obviously, big jumps, things like that. But because of the fact that it's a shorter track and they're maybe 3 to 5 minute, not if it's a long track, it's typically like 2 to 4 minutes long. They can they can post up camera angles, you know, prior to the race. They know where these guys are going to be. Now, I would imagine that you could probably get, I don't know, 5 to 6 cameras set up pre-race and then actually live stream these events onto the internet. Now, is there a possibility of something like that in the future? Have you thought of anything like that?
Absolutely, man. I think about it every day. The races would be so easy to cover. I mean, realistically, they're not much longer than, say, an outdoor national. You know, so realistically, if you had a small effort, you could probably cover it really, really good. And I think that's one thing that in the future will really set us aside for off-road. It's so easy to cover. It's so easy to spectate. It really gives off that atmosphere when you're there too. It's just like a really friendly atmosphere where you can follow the race and bring someone. And I mean, I can't tell me how many times growing up I brought friends to my local hare scramble, and it's like they see me buzz by for 5 seconds, and then they weren't even sure if it was me because I was so muddy. And then I buzz by, and then they don't see me again for a half hour. So it's like, on the other hand, at the JDays, you get to see the action, and not only is it off-road action, but compared to a pace when you're trying to ride 3 hours, when you're trying to ride 30 minutes, man, they're riding on the edge, and it definitely, you know, they're riding, I don't want to say out of control, but it's definitely a better spectating show for sure, because people they're not holding anything for later. They're just, you know, full throttle all out. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, the GNCCs used to have kind of a stigma with that, where they would kind of be like, they'd ride around for 2 hours, and the last hour they'd start racing. But when you got 30 minutes to make shit happen, you can't let 2 turns go without somebody trying to pass somebody. Okay, so I was skeptical of this at first, and I think it was a little bit of me being ignorant, honestly. I think, like we've talked about, you know, both of us did grow up in kind of your more traditional off-road genres. And I think I first didn't know what it was. I was afraid I turned into an old guy, and I just said no because of the fact that it felt wrong. I want to see more videos. I want to come to a race and I want to watch. I don't want to race because I will get my ass kicked because I'm not fast enough. Those guys are so bleeping fast. So I want to be there. I know that this has got something to it. People are excited. They want to see it. 2013, you're going to make things bigger and you're going to make things better. You're going to be at Bike Week Saturday, March 9th, before the entire Bike Week gets going at one of the local motocross tracks down there. So give us some backstory on this. Is this you taking over the world? Is this just, you know, testing the waters? You looking for factory backing for teams to come out? You know, what's the plans with all this?
Totally, man. I mean, Florida is, just like you said, I think definitely testing the waters. I would definitely say that regardless of how it goes, you know, I know people have the GNCC on Tuesday, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was too close for them. But like you said, it's definitely testing the waters. I'm also, in a couple of weeks, I'm heading down to some southern locations too to look at some spots. It's tough to really say right now, man. I mean, I think it all kind of depends on the economy. One thing's for sure is the New England circuit's not going anywhere. The big question is the economy going to be good enough to where if I had almost, if you want to call it a national series, are people going to travel out of their region to do a series like that? So if the economy was probably like it was 10 years ago, I probably would, I would go for it sooner than later. But right now, I think more likely in the future, I'll probably maybe test out a southern series next winter. So have a northern and a southern series, and then kind of see how the economy looks, and if there's the kind of factory backing. Right now, it's like people aren't going to travel to the nationals unless it's only for pride, pretty much, for a lot of guys,
Right.
you know. So it's like it's not the time to really do that, I feel like, right now. But in a couple of years, ultimately, I want to be the Premiere Series, of course. But it's definitely a lot to do with the economy too.
Man, well, that's pretty cool. Having never really been a professional by any means, I've never really been paid for racing, just always paying to do it. What do you think it's going to take for some of the teams, be it a factory back team or more of these little privateer effort teams, to come up to one, back, maybe riders in your series, and then also for, more riders like in the GNCC series and Hare and Hounds and things like that, like National Enduro, to start getting more backing? Do you have any ideas on how we as a series or we as a community can kind of change the stigma of all the factory guys pulling out and nobody having rides?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah.
Are you saying how, as an off-roader?
Yeah.
How is that going to happen, or or getting them to my series?
Yeah, no, well, okay, I guess there's a little bit of both in that, because of the fact that I know that you're a series promoter, but you've also got a really good racer head on you if you've made it into the World Enduros. So how do you see it? Let's see it as a promoter. As a promoter, how do you expect to be able to get more factory riders and more factory teams to your series?
Absolutely. First off, let's use, the biggest series probably on two wheels are probably like Supercross and MX.
Right.
I think right there, it's obvious. What really is their bread and butter is the fact that they're so spectator friendly. The big show is what it's all about. You can follow the racing action, and in the end, that's I think what drives people to want to sponsor and want to invest in the sport. And I think that's kind of what scares people away from off-road, is it's only the diehards that are going to want to invest in like the long distance stuff, because it's very difficult to spectate, at an enduro or a hare scramble. So the companies are going to wonder, are what we investing in, are we getting our return back? So I think that's kind of exactly why I started the series. If you go to a J-Day, I think it's tough to describe the atmosphere, but that's kind of what I have in my head for a vision, is to go to an off-road race. You can follow the action the whole way around, watch the racing unfold. And I think that from a sponsor standpoint and from like the factory teams, they'll get more bang for their buck when they can, when you can follow your rider the whole way around, when people are lining the entire track, and more importantly for big time down the road, television coverage. I think as good as those guys do with television coverage for like some of the long distance stuff right now, it's so hard to be that good with that kind of format. It doesn't really have much more room to grow, I guess, as far as television. I mean, how good are you going to be able to televise a national enduro?
Or a 13-mile loop on a track.
And believe me, don't get me wrong, I love those series, but I'm just saying, as a sport, it's very difficult to televise it, and I think it's very difficult to almost impress people with it. As racers, we know how sweet it is, and we know how talented those guys are, but average Joe over here, it's like you show him a video of a national enduro and he's going to lose interest unless he's been to one and he knows what's going on, but I've always said this from day one, dude, that as a spectator that knows nothing, if you bring him to a mud pit at your local GNCC or a gnarly section, and all of a sudden a pro comes by, hydroplanes some crazy mud section with roots and rocks and ruts, he's going to be just as interested watching a section like that as he is, say, seeing his favorite rider do a triple. I think it's just as exciting. The problem is that if he goes to an off-road event, he's going to see that guy go by and do that one time and never see him for another half an hour. Whereas if he goes to a supercross or a motocross, he's going to see the same guy hit the triple, and then he goes around the corner and hits a whoop section, and he follows the whole way. and that's how they're able to get into it. And I think that in the end really builds up the sport, to why those are so popular and off-road's not. I mean, look at Endurocross as a good example. I mean, I think in a very short time they've had a lot of success. I think for the sole fact that you can watch the whole thing and you can really, get into it. So
yeah. I definitely want to see more spectators on the sidelines with chainsaws. I saw one of those guys. I've seen a lot at downhill races. I saw one of those guys at the ISDE. I'm telling you, man, you definitely know your audience. You know what you want to do. That's good because of the fact that I think that, with you going south to Florida, you are possibly going to start a direct competition with, other series. Right now, being in the Northeast, not that people don't see you as a threat from more of the global look of other series,
yep.
But with you going south and with you starting to branch out, people are going to start to go, uh-oh, he's kind of approaching on our territory. Not that they really have territory, but they're comfortable.
Yeah.
They're comfortable in those situations, and you're offering people something that they've been trying to figure out for years. They never figure out how to do it. You're starting to figure out how to do it. So being that you might start competing with some of these other series to try to become more of the Premiere Offroad Series, what are you going to do when you start having to compete against those guys? Is it going to change anything? Are you going to make any different decisions? Or you just kind of have your view and you're going to run with it?
That's it, man. I have my, my vision in my head. I'm just going to run with it. The same way I did up here in New England, just kind of ease into it. And then, take it from there, see how people react to it. I tell you what, I mean, if anyone, this is a perfect example. Up here in New England, there were so many doubters and so many diehards that, it will never work. That's no good. But then as soon as they go to one, they're hooked, and then all of a sudden, the diehard guys that love the nasty hair scrambles and enduros and stuff, now all of a sudden, okay, I see what you're trying to get at. Okay, this is cool for the sport, So I think it's a matter of getting people to try it out. But I also see, I know it's going to be tough at the same time too, because obviously I'm just myself and we got other series around here or like the GNCCs or enduros that have been around since way before I was even born. So it's going to be a battle, but I think in the end, who knows? Not to say that two couldn't work. I don't think hair scrambles or enduros are going anywhere for sure. But I think in the end, the type of package that we offer for the sponsors and the riders and the type of coverage, I think in the end that they might see that as more, a cooler place to be. But who knows? It's tough to tell right now. I don't want to put, scare anyone away or try to be like that guy, like, look out, I'm coming in, because you'll probably catch me racing the Florida GNCC 2 days after my event too, So it's not like I'm like that guy, like coming in, like look out, but
hey,
but I definitely
okay. So if I show up at the Florida race, I'm an A rider, what class do you want me to get in? I'm 33 years old. Should I be in your 30 plus A class, or should I be in something else and then race, on Tuesday, or what do you think? What do you recommend for a low life like myself?
Exactly what you said. Either would work fine. I mean, the vet A class would work fine, and then depending on what kind of bike do you have?
I have a 300 XC.
So you'd race A Open. So yeah, you could race. I mean, I'd recommend in your case A Open goes off behind the pro class. I'd recommend if you're 30 plus, race A Vet.
I don't want to be that close to those sons of bitches.
Race the A Vet class a half hour early, and you can spectate the pro race. And dude, I can tell you from being a pro myself, dude, it's a cool show, man. It's a cool show for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a really good chance I'm going to be down in at Bike Week doing some stuff with the GNCC guys. We're trying to net that out, see if that works out. If it does, it's going to be awesome. Obviously, I'll be able to be down there for the whole shenanigans and then go into Georgia. But we'll see. But man, if I'm down there, I'm going to come. I want to check it out. I definitely. One of the things too that I read on your Facebook wall that freaked me out is that you're having this winter series that you have. There are studded tires. What the fuck? Does that not scare the crap out of you? Are you just not afraid that you're gonna die getting run over by this thing?
You know what?
Ride those in the snow?
You know what? It never scared me until I became a promoter.
Insurance.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. I raced in the snow all my life, and just like a lot of people up here in New England, and never really thought about it like that. Spiked tires, and actually, even though one of my best friends, Jake Korn, like I said, he almost lost a finger. I remember one snow race because someone ran his finger over. But yeah, I never thought of it like that too. But as a promoter now, I'm always on the line at the winter events. I'm like, listen, this is the winter series. It's not the regular championship series. Take it easy into that first corner, will you? But that stuff is scary, man. But I'm hoping we get some good snow this winter. Last year we did the winter series for the first year, and we didn't get any snow. We had like a mild, strange winter last year. But this year, if we get some snow, it'd be nice to pack in the snow. And I know you've probably never ridden snow,
Absolutely
but if
not.
you can pack it in. If you can pack it in pretty cool, it's almost like a rail. You can it's awesome conditions if it's right.
So it actually gets
and then on
tacky.
the other hand, yeah, exactly. Like it usually ruts up and it's kind of frozen a little bit, so
okay.
you can kind of hold it. Hold it around the corner. It's tough to say. It's either horrible conditions or great conditions in the snow. So if you have too much, it's like riding in like a foot of mud. So.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the kind of crappy conditions, because down here, our winter series, the Toro organization, I think when I started racing it in like 2007, man, we had mud race after mud race after mud race, and now all we have is like dry, dusty, almost warm events. I don't know if it's global warming or if it was the Mayans or what's going on, but man, I kind of almost want to have a mud race again just because... What the hell?
Right?
This is kind of freaking me out. Okay, so obviously your winter series is something that I think. Are your video guys going to be out there? Because I haven't seen this. I want to see it. I'm excited for this.
They will be there. Yes, they will be there.
Okay. Well, you need to tell them to make sure they get some awesome extra footage for me. Okay, because I want to see some.
Okay.
Of this shit. All right.
For sure.
So obviously you've given us a little bit of insight onto essentially how you plan to take over the world. But besides that, we've had a lot of questions recently. Once Kawasaki backed out, it was like we've talked a lot about what do we need to do. It's going to be more privateer teams, all that kinds of stuff. I think more of an underlying thing is how are we going to get more of an actual national series that people can watch, that people can take part in. Again, I do have some initial skepticism to... I guess your format being the off-road format, but
yep.
That's not to say that your series couldn't be maybe part of a national format. There was Brian LeDuc on Twitter was mentioning, maybe we could kind of get all the organizations on board to allow like 2 of their events to be national points towards, an eventual national championship at the end of the year. Does anything... I just see a lot of logistics and a lot of political crap going wrong with that. I wish it would work. I just don't see those guys sitting down and actually doing that as a promoter, something like that. What does that make you? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I would never myself go with that. For me, it's just like I feel so strongly about the stuff in my series as to why I do it that I would never do. A part of a national series type thing, or I'm not. If that's what he's saying, like maybe like 2 enduros, 2 JDays, 2 G. Is that what he's saying?
I believe that's the way that I understood it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would never participate, but I also see like he's probably thinking too. It's probably there's so many different forms of off road. It's kind of tough to really put your finger on one.
Yeah.
Whereas like motocross, you just have plain old motocross, So it's like I see where he's coming from on that,
Yeah. And it would be interesting too if we could almost have, we have I think one of the things I've thought about is that say like the International 6-Day Enduro.
Yep.
We don't have anything like that except the qualifiers that the AMA put on, and they don't really put them on. They kind of just sanction other people's races, and they do a 2-day event. I got to do one this past year. Freaking loved it. I thought the format was awesome. Excuse me, something like that, like the 4-day that the freaking Aussies do. Why don't we have something like that? We need something like that. I think if we're going to do some form of national off-road championship, that it's going to be a 4-day event like that, where you can throw in your enduro test, you can throw in your cross test, you can throw in your grass tracks, your motos, your things like that, and it then becomes combined, and you don't have to worry about going out to all these series. You just create it right there throughout 4 days. I mean, what do you think? What would be the best place for us to hold something like that? And don't say the Northeast, but you can say the Northeast.
No, that's the worst place to hold something like that in the Northeast, man. Honestly, another thing too in the Northeast is just finding land.
Well, the Europeans have the same problem, and that's why they have so many short tests. Is because they go from like farm to farm, with guys that allow them to essentially So I mean, it's just.
I mean, you're talking to the wrong guy if you want to talk about national formats. You already know which format I think is good, but. I mean, as far as the 4-day thing, you'd
come out.
I totally love that idea. I really do.
You would come and
those
race?
kind of events, But as far as national format, you already know what I think should be the style format.
Yeah. It's a logistical nightmare. You're a promoter.
It is, man. It is, and then you got to take into account the type of terrain. It's like look at out west. Not that I've ever been there, but it seems like it'd be very difficult to kind of have what we're doing out west. I know a lot of our tracks are kind of in the mountains, in the forests, stuff like that. And then you look at the work series, and it looks like a lot of it's like kind of like desert type stuff, and same with I guess that whole western region. That's why they probably have races like Baja, because it's all there really is out there. There's a lot of that type of vegetation. There's not really a lot of dense forest, I guess. I don't know. So it's I feel like that's why in that region those races are big. But then all of a sudden in the Carolinas you have a lot of tight enduros because that's what they have to offer for forests, But
no, you're absolutely right. I mean, what you guys seem to have, and I'm appalled in a good way by the video that I've seen up there, is the fact that you guys have such loamy freaking dirt. I don't know what causes that or what. It just seems that you guys have amazing freaking traction up there. But
it's awesome, man. That's another reason too. It's we have the perfect ingredients up here for good off-road riding. So it makes me question if I want to go anywhere else, because I can easily imagine that the track's not being as great if it wasn't for some of the cool elevation and the cool dirt and just the makeup of it, But
yeah, no, it was a solid point too on the fact that if you start going south, you're gonna run into way more tight woods. So, and it seems like you guys keep your tracks pretty wide. So, are you gonna wind up having to bulldoze some trees down, stuff like that? You go out west, you're gonna have to water the crap out of it because it's gonna be so dry. Is Kurt Caselli gonna beat everybody because he's a badass in the open desert? I don't know, but I still love the guy, so it's whatever.
Right. Right.
So do you have a favorite off-road racer?
Juha Salman always takes the cake.
Wow. Man, actually, that's a really good because he won the GNCCs, came over, won in 2005, 2006. Before that, obviously a badass in Europe on the World Enduro circuit. Still pretty much a badass in the World Enduro circuit. Had a bad year this year at the ISDE. That's a really good pick. Obviously, on the international circuit, I kind of I am a David Knight fan. So there's that. But Kurt
Yep, no, he's definitely up there too.
Caselli's my boy.
Kurt, also awesome rider. Awesome, always looked up to him too. I mean, there's a lot of them. The list definitely goes on. I also Shane Watts. Growing up, I definitely when I was a little guy, Shane Watts was who I looked up to for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the guys that's railing ruts and nailing sluts. whatever the coin phrase might be. We could probably unfortunately relate that, or fortunately relate that to Shane Watts. Yeah, it's funny. He's actually going to be the guest speaker this year. We were just talking about the TSEC banquet that we're holding. He's going to be the guest speaker there. So if anybody feels like they want to, I'm anxious to hear, because I've talked with Shane Watts, done a couple tequila shots, had a few beers. We've had some good conversation. So I'm looking forward to seeing if we can get him past quality control and having a good time at the TSEC banquet so we can get some good stories. All right, dude. Well, I told you that I wanted you to come up with some fun stuff to talk about too. So did you have anything of, news these days that has come out that just totally piqued your interest?
I mean, off the top of my head, I mean, I guess something worth talking about is just it's kind of funny how the teams seem to be pulling out a little bit of off-road, but yet, GNCC series last year had their second best turnout ever to date.
That's correct.
That definitely was an interesting point. I found, interesting, and I don't know if it's just because Kawasaki was doing so bad for those guys pulling out west, or I mean, it just I don't know. It just seems like a lot of teams are just pulling out in general, and it makes you wonder if it's because the economy, or is it because they're not getting what they want out of the, I don't know, different formats or different off-road series. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that it's because of they're not getting the bang for the buck, or you think it's simply because of the economy?
I don't blame the economy anymore. The problem with blaming the economy is that we were able to do it when the economy actually tanked. The economy is doing better. I'm not going to say it's where it was, but the economy is doing better. At this point, everybody should have learned their lessons about what they were doing poorly and the fact that they weren't planning ahead for bad times. Bad times have come. They've gone. We've learned. We should now be learning how to make money in the times that we're in. And if we can't do that, then obviously we're having issues with more business management than we are actually just keeping money or making money. It's kind of like, so it's the, obviously I'm a little jaded on like the whole economy blaming thing, but 2009, yep. So GNCC is a good way to look at it. 2009, Paul Whibley wins on a Kawasaki. They pull out after he wins. 2010, Josh Strang wins on a Suzuki. Suzuki pulls out after he wins. It's like, and then we go to Charlie Mullins with 2011. Obviously, KTM has not pulled out. And then Paul Whibley's back now with another win for 2012 on Yamaha. Yamaha's not pulling out, but it's still not a Yamaha-backed factory team. So
right.
It's an interesting point that you made, that they may not be getting the bang for their buck, because I think maybe they got a little lazy and they haven't figured it out. The car guys, they got to really, I mean, the fact that they got bailed out, I'm not a political guy. I'm not going to talk about political shit, but that is a big, a big point. Like a lot of these manufacturers are car manufacturers as well, or are associated with car manufacturers from, Asia, or the Orient. And so they got a bailout. They got this money. They got things to figure things out. They could move things around. Other people didn't get that. Other organizations didn't get that. So maybe they were just looking for something of the same accord, or they were just like, well, you know what, we'll kind of ride it out and see how it goes. And instead of making great decisions and actually fixing the problem, getting the people that made bad decisions out of the way and starting afresh, they never did that. And all of a sudden, they're still realizing, oh my God, even though the economy is getting better, we're still in this latency period where we're not just making decisions. I learned a lot about this from all the technology, being based in the internet and making websites and really kind of trying to move forward in the consulting world, that sometimes you just have to cut the fat and move on. The problem is I don't think the fat to cut is the riders and the people that are using your products.
Absolutely,
so,
man.
I mean, I don't know if anything I just said made sense, but
what I say too.
It's kind of where I guess I'm coming from on all that. So,
as stupid as it sounds, it's almost like, to me, the very last thing you should cut are your factory riders and your satellite teams and all that stuff, because I mean, I look at I look at it from like the New England standpoint. I can't tell you how many parents and how many people. I use like my buddy Jake Corn as an example. Perfect amateur career, won everything he could win in New England, trained his ass off, went to the GNCCs. He was the top privateer, beating factory riders, guys with rides. I think he finished as the top privateer for the year, like in the point standings. And then he wasn't, he didn't get anything. And then he obviously, I'm sure he was upset with it, and then he went home. And then everyone's asking him, why aren't you going back to the GNCCs? Like, I don't have, I can't just keep dishing out $30,000 a year to race.
It costs money.
I'm not getting anything in return. And then what does that do to the New England community? Now everyone and their brother, you talk to them, and their kids want to go race GNCCs, or they want to go race and be a pro off-road, and their parents are saying there's nothing to go be. Yeah. There's no so then in that aspect, you look at the amateur motocrossers and all that stuff, and they're dishing thousands of money or thousands of dollars away because they're hoping their kid can make it, and that obviously helps turn keep the industry going. But then it's like, if there's nothing to make, it's like I feel like people are losing out more money because no one has anything to work towards, and it's a hobby,
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know. That's just my point. But obviously, I'm not sitting in the sales meeting, so I don't know. That's just like me looking on the outside, thinking, okay, that seems like a stupid move. But obviously, I'm sure they're where they are, so they got to be smarter than me. So
yeah, something that is really kind of, I don't know, made me think in the sense of all this cutting teams and teams not really growing and trying to figure out how we're all going to be able to race, for money, is the fact that KTM continues to support, continues to innovate, and continues to hire new riders. I really think it's because of the fact that they will push the envelope. They figured it out. They're like, we're going to go win a championship. What did they do? They invested the money, they wanted to win a Supercross and Motocross championship. They obviously haven't won the Supercross championship yet. Will they? Yes. Will it be with Dungey? I don't know. But will they win one? Absolutely. Did they win a motocross championship? They did. Why? Because they wanted it, they innovated, and they built a bike and got a team to do it. And from that, how much money are they going to get? Because now KTM's selling motocross, where they were always the off-road bike. But, they know, just like you're saying, that that off-road has to be publicized. It has to be seen more and be spectated more. They knew that too, and they did it. And now look at them.
Yep. Absolutely, man. No, they're killing it, and it just seems like they're especially so nimble. And it takes the Japanese 10 years to change with an idea. KTM will have it out next year. That's one thing, and I don't know if it's because they're the people over in Japan, it takes the idea 10 years to get over to them, or
right.
What the deal is. But I can tell you right now, I could call up my local KTM rep and tell him, hey, this would be awesome on this bike, and he'd probably relay the message. But yet, I bet you the New England Yamaha rep, or if there even is one, the Kawasaki rep, Suzuki rep, he wouldn't even probably know what JDayOffroad is, because like I've talked to a couple of reps, and it's like they don't specialize in just MX or off-road. He probably knows the generator better than than the bikes or whatever. So, but that's just kind of like what I see. KTM's so nimble because they just specialize right in the racing field. So
yeah, ready to race is definitely. it's their tagline, and I think they prove it to be true. I've owned now my second KTM after owning a Yamaha for a very, very long Yamahas for a very, very long time.
Yep.
And you do. You buy those bikes for, I don't know, call it $8,000 back then, off the floor. Maybe you got a little bit of a deal. You just spent $2,000 on suspension, on all kinds of other parts and stuff like that to get it ready for anything but motocross. And even if you're doing motocross, you're still pretty much doing your suspension. Where KTM's, I feel like
right.
You literally could go pick up a bike and you could race it. Obviously there's still going to be little bits that are going to be personal and you have to change, but
totally.
I really think people need to learn from that kind of stuff. The nimble aspect of it is very true. You're it's a very good point on that.
Yep, totally, man, totally.
Well, cool, dude. Well, it's kind of interesting because one of the deals that, in case you hadn't come up with anything to talk about, I was going to mention the fact that Graham Jarvis and his main sponsor, Team Flitch or Faith or whatever, just pulled out, and they're not going to.
I saw that.
So, I mean, maybe it's money, maybe it's the economy, maybe it's whatever it is, but it's just kind of funny because then there's another rider who is top tier. I mean, he is the best, hard enduro, extreme enduro, whatever you want to call it, rider right now, and he might be a support rider for Husaberg next year, and that almost kind of seems like a joke going into the next year.
Absolutely, man, absolutely, but it just makes you wonder, again, are they getting the bang for their buck? As cool as those events are, it makes you wonder, from a investor standpoint, by investing in Graham Jarvis to do those races, is he getting his money in return like he wanted to, or is he simply investing because he's a diehard of the sport and wants to see him have a job,
Right.
Where on the other hand, you take like a sport like Supercross or motocross, they're investing in their teams to hopefully get the type of investment to, I don't know, people recognize their product or whatever, so that they get paid back by investing, So that's kind of what I wonder, Are those extreme duros? Of course, I think they're freaking badass as all hell, but going off into the mountains and coming back 8 hours later. Is it a marketable thing?
Solid point. Well, obviously, I mean, Red Bull thinks so, but do I want every single team out there to be sponsored by an energy drink? Absolutely not. Do I think?
No, totally.
I personally, I'm a responsible drinker. I'm 33 years old.
Yep.
I've been doing it since I was 21. I'll tell you, I was an irresponsible drinker when I was in college because sure as shit wasn't legal to do it, but I still did. But do I think that I drank because of the fact that I saw billboards of Bud Light? Absolutely not. I drank
way.
because of beer pressure. It was just what you did.
Right.
So if the fact that we don't have big sponsors like some of the alcohol and some of the adult beverage companies anymore is kind of a joke. They really do create a lot of revenue. Look what they've done for a lot of other sports since they've kind of like left our side of the motorsports. I mean, I'm not saying I want them all to jump on board and us to be a bunch of alcoholics, but there's money there. It could do a lot for the sport as long as we do it correctly and not just try to grab the money and put it where we think it needs to be and make rash decisions and actually think about some new innovative ways. I really think there's something there and that we could do it, but I don't know. All right.
Totally. I mean, you'd probably know, being from Texas, the last man standing there.
Yes.
They used to. Is it true that they stopped doing it because they said they couldn't get enough spectators or what?
Oh no, it's absolutely true.
That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I heard.
I was there for all 3 years that it took place, and as it took place throughout the year, sure, the numbers grew, but man, no, yeah, the turnout was minimal at best, unfortunately. And so then you could kind of take my screen as a big map, and it's like everybody gets here and signs in. Well, then the start's over here, and then all of a sudden they're over here because they got to get to this test section, kind of neat bit, and then they're coming over here for Joshua Tree. And then they realize, people don't know how to get around. We don't want them to bring in their own vehicles for liability, so let's do a tram.
Right.
Okay, well, they try doing a tram, and of course, Munster, they say it was in Munster, Texas. Well, Munster is 15 miles from Boulter, where the race actually was, and then Munster's 15 minutes from Gainesville, which is an hour from DF. So were they close to absolutely anything? No. Was it a bitch to get around? Absolutely. And did it fail miserably because of that? I mean, I wouldn't say it failed, but that's exactly why it stopped. So was it awesome to watch those guys ride what they rode? Yeah. But it's exactly what you said.
Totally. And as a racer, it was probably one of the coolest things going. Sure. I wish I wanted to get out there too. I almost made it to the first year, but I didn't get out there. But I definitely think that's kind of what I look at. On one side of the spectrum, it's like I love riding those type of events, enduros, hair scrambles, extreme events. But is that what the sport needs to grow? I'm not sure, you know.
Yeah. Well, okay, Mr. John Day of the J-Day Offroad Series. You know, we've had a really good time. We've had some really good discussions. It's going to be fun to archive this kind of stuff and, you know, look back on it maybe a year from now, see where we're at, see how things are going. But go ahead, you know, tell us, you know, where on the internet can people find you? Where can they find more about J-Day? Where can they, you know, tweet you real hard when they have opinions about being awesome?
JDayOffroad.com is the website. You can definitely follow up on updates, and also all of our videos go through there as well.
Cool.
You can follow me on Twitter, John Day at John Day Jr., Instagram, JDayOffroad, and yeah, that's about it as far as finding me. Facebook as well. If you search J-Day Offroad, you'll find us there too.
Awesome. Lots of good places to find all of our friends online. Of course, we have to say thank you very much to our supporters. Fly Racing is a very large supporter of Seat Time. We could not be here without them. They definitely they partner with us and help us pay for the hosting and a lot of the server space that all this kinds of stuff goes on. So please go check them out. I just got in my new Hyperlight gear that I ordered with my little discount that I get, and it's awesome. It's so much fun to look at. I'm touching it. I'm going to race in it this weekend. If I go race, hopefully I do. It's a good stuff. Please go check it out. Flyracing.com. Great supporter of Seat Time. Where can you find Seat Time online? Well, as I try to bring all this stuff up, seattime.co is the website, not .com.co. Seattime.co is where you can find all these shenanigans. We have all of our episodes archived there slowly on YouTube as well. Then if you were to find us on Facebook, facebook.com/seattime, of course, where you could be our friend on the book of the face. And if you wanted to tweet us real hard on Twitter, it would be twitter.com/seattime_co. So we're on Instagram as well. It's just regular old Seat Time. I haven't made a lower third for that yet because I keep forgetting, but one day I have a feeling it's going to happen. So, Mr. John Day, I really appreciate you being online talking to
Thanks,
us,
man.
dude. We're here all
Thanks
the
for
time.
having me. Awesome.
Heck yeah, dude. So we're looking forward to it. I really hope that I can make it down to Florida so that not only can I check out your race in person, but I can meet you. We can high-five it out. Maybe have a brewski when it's all done. So, yeah, not the worst time, right?
If anyone's heading down to Bike Creek March 9th, a couple days before the GNCC, get some seat time in the sand at
Seat Time in the
the J-Day Offroad
at
Bostwick Creek. So I should have a flyer up on the website probably within a week or so, and definitely if you go there to race or spectate, you'll like it. So
all right, I'm looking forward to liking it regardless. I'm going to try to be there. I really appreciate you doing what you do and then talking to us about it. So, Seat Time, remember, always enjoy a pint full of awesome. That doesn't mean you have to drink illegally. That just means you have to have a good time responsibly. So take that to the bank and smoke it, or whatever the slogan may be. I don't know. Stay on the line, buddy. I have something I actually want to talk to you about. Remember, always enjoy a pint full of awesome. Seat Time's a good time. Remember to come back. We'll talk to you later. Seattime.co. Peace, bitches.